Hi, this is Cheryl Gallant, your Conservative Member of Parliament for the neighbourly riding of Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke. Trudeau is hiding out at home again, dreaming up fantasies of a United Nations-run economy in a post-national country. Canadians are facing the reality of putting food on the table. From the beginning of the lockdown in March, Justin Trudeau has made a deliberate choice. When it comes to support for businesses, Trudeau acts like Scrooge McDuck. When it comes to handing out money to people, his government is more like Daffy Duck. We know from Trudeau's own words, he thinks all small business owners are just tax cheats. We know that they are the lifeblood of our economy. In the 9 months since the virus was first identified in Canada, Parliament has had to pass new legislation to fix the wage subsidy at least twice. The rent subsidy had to be completely overhauled. Today, we learned from news site Blacklock's reporter that the government's large employer relief fund has issued twice as many contracts to well-connected consultants than it has issued loans to struggling businesses. Meanwhile, we're learning just how badly they ran the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, the CERB. At the peak, 2.6 million Canadians were unemployed because of the government shutdown. But 8.9 million people claimed CERB. That's about an extra 5 million people collecting CERB on top of the 3 million people actually out of work. We know shady tax credit promoters were encouraging Canadians to apply for CERB even if they didn't qualify. Millions of Canadians are going to be shocked when they see their tax bills from their CERB payments. But millions more are going to find out that they have to pay back the whole amount. Until after the next election, do you think Trudeau will actually try to recover this money? Or will he just expect taxpayers to carry the bill for his incompetence? Let me know what you think in the comments. As mentioned earlier, Parliament has had to keep fixing the wage and rent subsidies. The initial programs were too restrictive and left many small businesses without help. The latest expansion of the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy, CEWS for short, and the redesigned Canada Emergency Rent Subsidy, what we call the CURSE, has now passed into law. There's also an additional measure called lockdown support. It kicks in when a provincial government orders your business to close. Let's take a look at the key changes in the programs. The revenue decline test for the base subsidy and the top-up subsidy have been harmonized from September 27th onward. Instead of using the current 3-month revenue decline test for the top-up subsidy, both the base and the top-up would be determined by the change in an employer's monthly revenues, year over year for either the current or the previous calendar month. This means an employer with 70% or greater revenue loss in a period would be eligible for a 65% wage subsidy. The wage subsidy will also be extended until June of 2021 from its original end date this September. The wage subsidy includes a base subsidy for all employers whose revenues have been impacted by the pandemic. The base subsidy rate for period 8, which ran from September 27th to October 24th, would continue to apply for periods 9 and 10, which go from October 25th until December 19th, 2020. This means the maximum base rate for the subsidy would be set at 40% in this period. This table shows the new rate structure of the base subsidy. One of the changes we Conservatives asked for was to harmonize the wage and rent subsidies, and the government has finally listened. The Liberals have implemented the reforms we proposed back in April. With the introduction of the new rent subsidy, qualifying organizations suffering a revenue drop will be eligible for a subsidy on eligible expenses, and that's eligible expenses. The maximum base rate subsidy would be 65% and available to organizations with a revenue drop of 70% or more. The base rate would then decline to a rate of 40% for organizations with a revenue drop of 50%, and then would gradually reduce to zero for those not experiencing a decline in revenues. Now, this structure mirrors the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy rate structure. Eligibility for criteria for the 2. You must have had a business number as of September 27th, 2020, and satisfy the Canada Revenue Agency that it is a bona fide rent subsidy claim. Revenues will be calculated in the same manner as under the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy Program. Now, for organizations subject to a 5% while they face the lockdowns, this means an eligible small business person suffering from a 70% decline in revenues and is ordered to shut down by the province could receive a rent subsidy of 90% for the lockdown period. If your business was not able to access the Canada Emergency Business Account, that's CEBA, you may qualify for the Regional Relief and Recovery Fund. This fund is administered locally by the Renfrew County Community Futures Development Corporation. At the outbreak of the pandemic, I urged the government to make funds available to our local community development corporations. They're in the community and they understand the unique challenges our local businesses are facing. If you think your business or nonprofit organization may qualify, I encourage you to contact the Renfrew County Community Futures Development Corporation to apply. Well, that's all the time we have today. But if you have any questions about the federal programs we discussed today, please don't hesitate to give my office a call. Live from Ottawa, this is Cheryl Gallant, wishing you a good night.